Christopher Taylor with Sovereign Harmony Astrology up on the hill today. It is Sunday, March 22nd. We're going to do the astrology for the week through about the 28th or so. And it's kind of a breather week. Okay, last week, lots of stuff going on. We'll kind of do a little review of that, where we're at now. Okay, and then next week we'll have a full moon, etc. But this is sort of like this breather, right? When you ever been to a play or a musical or something, when they change the scene and you kind of know that, okay, the setup is now changed. It's ready to start. Better not get out of my seat. I'm not going to go to the bathroom right now. I'm not going to get any beverages or anything. I'm going to stay right here because I can tell the lights are dimming and the act is about to start. So that's kind of where we're at now. So we've been in this transition process of changing the scene. Now the set is ready for the next act. Okay, so we're sitting in our seats waiting for it to happen. Okay, so it's here. Again, not getting up for anything right now. And so we're coming off of that new moon in Pisces last week. That was immediately followed by the sun entering Aries. That's the equinox. So it's following Venus, which has been in Aries for a couple weeks now. And it's, again, one more notch on that butterfly phase that I've talked about in previous weeks. You can look at previous videos. And that sun right now is actually conjunct Neptune in Aries. So we had Saturn and Neptune enter Aries in recent weeks, and it's a big deal in societal evolution. Now the sun is highlighting what Venus has already highlighted. And with the sun conjunct Neptune this weekend, it's interesting. The last time we had a sun-Neptune conjunction in Aries was in April of 1874. I didn't say 1974, I said 1874. So it's been over 150 years since we had a sun-Neptune conjunction in Aries, okay? Sun is exalted in Aries. It loves it there. And Neptune, it's all about taking our wildest dreams, our highest intentions, and Aries is about anchoring it, okay? So it's the first time in over 150 years that the collective is in a space where we can kind of anchor in more of what we want to, what we intend to have in our lives, what we tend to manifest, etc. Okay, it's a very different time than it was in 1874. Okay, so think of that. Okay, so that's a big deal as well. We also had Mercury come out of retrograde just recently, a couple days ago. Okay, and coming out of retrograde, it's turned direct at 8 degrees of Pisces with the north node, the moon's north node at 8 degrees Pisces. All about, like, we're in a headspace where we've kind of like figured it out on an intuitive level, maybe not on a logical level yet, but something internal, the internal wheels that we've been spinning the last several weeks, they're lined up. Okay, and again, we're sitting in our seats for this next act, but we're going to know what to do, where to go, how to act. That's going to be intuitive because it's already been worked out internally, even if external isn't there yet. Okay, and what else we got going on here? Also this weekend, as we speak, we have Mars in Pisces, trining Jupiter in Cancer. Jupiter is direct in Cancer. Mars in Pisces, very intuitive action. Jupiter in Cancer, it's that, growth and nurturing aspect. And so there's kind of like what I mentioned last week, if you watched, is it's like our sails are set and the wind is gently pushing us. I mean, the ocean is wide open. There's no lanes. There's no, designated lanes to travel on an ocean, right? So we've got to trust that the wind is pushing us along the waters in the right direction. And because we've done the internal rewiring with the Mercury retrograde in Pisces, where it's aligned with that north node, we can trust that we are drifting, that this act is going to open up, and we don't know what to expect, but we can trust that it is what we paid for, essentially, okay? You want to think of it that way. What we paid for on a soul level, what we signed up for. That's what's coming. That's what's opening here, okay? And as we move through the week, we're going to see the sun, still in Aries, obviously. It is going to join Saturn in Aries and form a sextile to Pluto in Aquarius. And that is because there is a Saturn-Pluto sextile right now within 1 degree orb, just started a few days ago. That'll be with us for a few weeks, okay? And so that is the key word that comes to me with that is materialization. It's like we've been in this phase of just like the immaterial world, and now it's about getting it in here, getting it in front of our faces, okay? So Pluto in Aquarius, going to be with us till like 2039, 40, whatever it is, 2044, I think, actually, something like that. Anyway, going to be a while. Saturn sextile Pluto is the first time Saturn and Pluto have had what's called a major aspect since 2020. So their last one was their conjunction in Capricorn in January of 2020. And we all know what happened just a couple months later, within weeks really of that conjunction. And that Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn is all about top-down power. How far can we push people, from that top-down perspective? Now we got the sextile. So it's an opportunity phase. So we can kind of look back at 2020 and say, hey, how were we steered like sheep or cattle or whatever? And now we can kind of take it back. With Saturn in Aries, it's about self-responsibility. With Pluto in Aquarius, it's about that greater collective. Okay, so they're not in that Capricorn energy anymore. This is our opportunity as individuals to take individual responsibility so that we can apply ourselves in that greater collective, that greater society. There may be attempts here in the next couple of weeks from the top down, if they're not knowing that that energy is over from what they created in 2020. But we'll be able to see it as a collective, as individuals in the collective, in a different way if something were to happen. Okay, so kind of like they missed their shot in a way, right? We can utilize that opportunity. Okay, and so that'll happen this week. Sun with Saturn sextiling Pluto, highlighting that Saturn Pluto sextile. We'll also have Mars and Mercury make that same association with Saturn and Pluto. That'll be later, about mid-April, so we're a few weeks away. And that is when we're really completing this butterfly phase, this entrance to the butterfly phase, when Mars and Mercury actually enter Aries as well. And that everything's out of Pisces, essentially. And especially when the North Node backs into Aquarius here in the middle of the summer, okay? So, one last thing happening this week, just kind of popped in my head, is, I think, Wednesday, Thursday time frame, we have Venus conjunct Chiron in Aries. So again, with the Aries theme, Venus is out ahead. It's the personal planet that's leading the way right now. So it's out in late Aries. It's going to hit Chiron, which has been in Aries since 2018. So that Chiron and Aries story goes back a few years, right? And Chiron and Aries has really been teaching us about healing any wounds associated with lack of capability or perceived capability. A sense of like not having agency or sovereignty in our lives, okay? And so we've had experiences that have like kind of convinced us essentially of the story that we don't have the capacity or that we can't trust ourselves, okay? But we've been moving through that. And Chiron's at the end of Aries. It's almost done. It's actually going to enter Taurus here later this year, and it'll back into Aries again and then go into Taurus next year. But the point is it's finishing up with that Aries story. And so Venus joining Chiron in Aries, it's like another phase of self-healing on that journey, okay? So we are kind of in a space where we can trust ourselves. So if, again, going back to that Saturn-Pluto sextile, if there was something attempted from the top down, because we have more of a sense of our personal responsibility and our role in the collective, this Venus-Chiron conjunction can really have us kind of go to ourselves first. So something happens out here, and we go, wait, what do I feel about that? How does that affect me? Okay, and so we're going to ourselves first. We're being sovereign first. And if we do that on an individual level, that has ripple effects, okay? Because now we can't be manipulated. Now we can't be manipulated into groups, right? The more they group us, the more they can manipulate us into dividing against other groups, right? But the more we remain sovereign individuals, that's where we have our power. And this Venus conjunction with Chiron and Aries is like another notch on that belt. We might have opportunities this week to be like, oh, whoa, I see that tactic in what it is, and here's where I'm going to stay with that. Okay, so again, take a breather this week. It is a little bit lighter. You need lightness sometimes in the heaviness. You've been through some heavy stuff. Things are going to speed up here in the coming weeks, so just sit in your seat, enjoy it. The act is on its way. The lights are dimming. Who knows what this act is going to be about? If you have any questions, please let me know. If you want to have a personal reading, I do personal charts. Christopher Taylor, Sovereign Harmony. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, wherever. Either way, comment, like, subscribe, share what you got to do. And if you don't have anything else for me, I will see you next week. Take care.